A lot of creators would agree that the most difficult or even the most time-consuming part about creating videos has to be editing the videos. But what if I told you that there was a product that you could invest in that could potentially remove editing out of your workflow altogether? Well, that's why I want to talk about the Blackmagic Atem Mini switcher that, when used right, could potentially remove editing out of your workflow completely. So let's get into it right now.
You gotta just press record.
This video is brought to you by StreamYard. StreamYard is how we go live here on Think Media, as well as our Think Media podcast YouTube channels. You can also go live into Facebook. StreamYard makes live streaming easy, from the ability to transition from your slides to yourself, as well as upload videos that you can share during a live stream, and it makes it easy to bring on a guest that you can interview and to change between the different camera angles to make it more engaging in real time. Make sure to check out the description below if you'd like to check out StreamYard for yourself. Now, the Blackmagic Atem Mini, simply put, is a video switcher, which allows you to plug up to 4 devices or 4 cameras and allow you to switch them in real time. However, depending on your specific needs, it could save you so much time when creating content. Now, when typically I shoot a video, I would actually use A-roll. So I would be shooting like the talking head, like what you see right now. And then we take separate time to throw B-roll on top of that A-roll. And then in post, when you're editing it, you would then add that B-roll at the specific moments you'd need. Now, let's say you had 2 cameras, and if you were talking to the main angle and it looked like this and it was the talking head angle, but you could switch to the tighter angle and show off maybe a product or something, you are now eliminating that process in editing, allowing you to move faster and create more content. I actually use the Blackmagic Atem Mini in this way when I live stream. When I go live, I have my main shot on my Canon M50 Mark II, and then my secondary shot is a tighter angle, which allows me to show something more up close. And it really makes a live stream more engaging when you're able to do something like that, but it also could speed up your workflow if you do it when shooting regular videos, not live streaming. When we initially bought the Blackmagic Atem Mini, we actually bought it for our Think Media podcast, which is a multi-angle podcast with usually up to 2 people in the video, but we had 3 different cameras, and I wanted to save time in editing by being able to switch the cameras in real time depending on whoever was talking or what have you. Now, it is important to note that Blackmagic has made 3 different versions of this specific switcher, and they all look the same. However, they aren't priced the same, and they all have specific features for specific needs. Now, regardless of which Atem you would get, they all have the same amount of ports behind it. You're gonna have 2 mic inputs for 3.5mm female. There's 4 HDMI inputs that will allow you to plug up to 4 cameras. Maybe you wanna do a monitor source or even an iPad or so. You can do that into these HDMI inputs. And then you're gonna have an HDMI output, which is used for your video feed. That if you have a monitor, you can actually see your program and all the angles based off of the inputs used, and then be able to see what you're switching to in real time, which is super nice if you have another monitor. Then you're gonna see the USB-C out, which can be used for multiple different things based off of the version you buy. Next is the Ethernet port, which allow you to control the Blackmagic Atem using their software on a computer. And then lastly is the power port, which is really nice because it has a screw tight, so you can't, accidentally pull power from the Blackmagic Atem Mini. So the first model of the Blackmagic Atem Mini is gonna be geared toward live streamers. That's gonna be the main purpose that this version would be used for. And at the time of shooting this video, it costs $295. And I wanna put things into perspective in just a second as far as the price goes, but this would allow you to plug up to 4 cameras and switch in real time. Honestly, what I love about it is it's so plug and play and so easy. You can just literally plug in your cameras, and then one cable goes into your computer or laptop, and now you have hardware to be able to switch. And to put things into perspective, if you wanted multiple camera angles for a live stream, you would have to get multiple cam link devices or video capture cards. And something like this, which is reliable, costs about 120 or 140 bucks. And so if you start to multiply that based off of how many angles you have, you could start running into problems, and you're gonna have to rely on software to be able to switch between your cameras, which one of my favorite things about the Blackmagic Atem Mini is that it's hardware based. It makes it physical. You have physical buttons that you can press. It lights up to tell you whichever input is being used. And I just love the tactile features. And when you're live streaming, you definitely want less friction when it comes to anything hardware based. And so making it a hardware switcher is super nice. Now, the next version of the Blackmagic Atem Mini is the Pro version. And this is gonna cost you around $495 at the time of shooting this video here in the US. And the biggest feature difference when it comes to the last one versus this one is the ability to capture on a hard drive. So where the USB-C is located, you can actually plug in a hard drive to the Blackmagic Atem Mini and then capture on a hard drive whatever you're filming. And so this would be the first entry level switcher if you don't plan on using it for live streaming, but you plan on using it for, shooting video and having multiple angles, whether you're doing a video podcast with multiple angles, or maybe you're doing, product review videos and you want to change to a secondary angle or a top-down angle if you're doing art or cooking. But the second version allows you to do that at $500. And so if you think you're going to do it beyond live streaming, this would be the first one to invest in. Now, the next one is the Blackmagic Atem Mini Pro ISO. And this is gonna cost you around $895 at the time of shooting this video here in the US. And this one being called ISO, really the biggest differentiator is that it captures all 4 angles at the same time when you're conducting whatever filming you're doing. Whereas the previous version that I just mentioned gives you 1 file, this version actually gives you up to 5 files. So let's say you have 4 cameras plugged in and then you have the live switch version of that show. It actually gives you all 4 angles. So if you wanted to make changes in post, you can. And one real reason being is that they also give you an XML file that can open up in most editing softwares like Premiere Pro or Final Cut. But hypothetically speaking, let's just say you had a video podcast that had 3 different angles, and while that video podcast conversation was happening, somebody was switching in real time. And at the end of that video podcast, when you're done recording, the hard drive that you have plugged into the Pro ISO version would give you all 3 angles, the main video file that has all the cuts in it, and a project file that you can open up and then make changes to all those angles, which is super nice if you plan on tweaking a little bit in post, still saving a ton of time when it comes to editing. But that would just kind of be the biggest differentiator when it comes to the second version versus the third version. And honestly, if you made a mistake in the live switching portion of filming, you can actually go back in and then edit it later, which is super nice. Now, like I mentioned, all the Atems have an Ethernet port that will allow you to plug into a computer or a laptop. And essentially, their Atem control software allows you to adjust colors a little bit. It allows you to dial in your file names for the files you're gonna record onto a hard drive. And then you can adjust other things like audio and volume. But honestly, you can go really deep with a product like this, which is what I appreciate with products, that it could be as simple as you'd like it to be, but then it can get as complex as you need it to be, which is super nice when you're making an investment like this. But really, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, it is a simple video switcher with bright red buttons that allow you to change angles as needed. Now, let me know down in the comments below if this is something that you could see using in your video workflow. Totally in ours, especially with our podcast, is something that allows us to move faster when using multiple angles. But also, let me know if you have any questions about the Blackmagic Atem Mini down in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer those questions. And if you want to see how I've actually integrated this switcher into my whole live stream setup, you can do so by clicking or tapping the screen. And I can't wait to see you in a future video. Peace.